This is the room in the bell tower where Elizabeth is supposed to have been imprisoned. The 8 weeks of her captivity in the tower were the darkest days of her entire life. As so often happened at moments of psychological crisis, she fell ill. She thought constantly of death. After all, she was only a few yards from the spot where her mother had been executed. She prayed to be delivered from the same fate.
2 months dragged by. Still, there was no word from Mary. Elizabeth could only expect the worst. On the morning of the 19th of May, 1554, Sir Henry Bedingfield, Mary's staunch supporter, arrived at the Tower with 100 men. Elizabeth believed that she was about to die, and from Mary's point of view, she deserved to. Mary knew that she had been involved in the Wyatt plot, but Elizabeth had cleverly covered her tracks. Without positive proof, Mary couldn't risk executing the heir to the throne. Bedingfield took Elizabeth to Woodstock Palace, near Oxford.
The relationship that Elizabeth had with Sir Henry was, from Sir Henry's point of view, a very professional one, and from her point of view, I think thoroughly frustrating, because he was there with a bunch of keys, and he kept her locked in. Garden gates were locked. If she wanted to go for a walk, someone had to accompany her, an armed guard. She couldn't receive anything in case there were messages involved. And she, in fact, called him my jailer.
Elizabeth was locked up for almost a year before Mary summoned her to court. The Queen believed that she was pregnant, and she wanted Elizabeth to play a walk-on part in the christening. But it was a phantom pregnancy, and, as his wife sickened, Philip's attitude to Elizabeth changed. He thought that he could use her to keep control of England by marrying her to a friend.
In the autumn of 1555, Elizabeth got Mary's permission to leave court and to come here to the peace and security of her country estate at Hatfield. She wanted to escape the court with its poisonous atmosphere of intrigue and surveillance. But she also wished to put a metaphorical distance between herself and the actions of Mary's government, because that summer the burning of Protestants had really got underway.
More than 300 people met this horrible death during Mary's reign. A few were lucky. Kind executioners would tie bags of gunpowder to their legs to finish them off quickly. Most roasted alive. Every death created a martyr for the Protestant cause. Making England Catholic wasn't going to be easy. Sensing that her time was near, Elizabeth fiercely resisted Philip's plans to marry her off to a Catholic prince, the Duke of Savoy. She would be no one's puppet. Mary was dying, but still she resisted naming Elizabeth as her successor. 10 days before her death, she finally relented under pressure from her council.
It was the 17th of November, 1558. Towards noon, messengers arrived at Hatfield to inform Elizabeth that her sister Mary was dead and that she was now queen. The story goes that they found her walking in the park underneath a great oak tree. As they fell on their knees before her, she too knelt, uttering the words of the 118th Psalm, Ad Domino factum est, et mirabile in oculis nostris. This is the Lord's doing, that is marvellous in our eyes.
The Spanish ambassador, de Feria, told Elizabeth she owed her throne not to the Lord, but to King Philip. Elizabeth would have none of it.
She is a very vain and clever woman. She puts great store by all the people who put her in her present position, and she will not acknowledge that your majesty or the nobility of the realm had any part in it. She is determined to be governed by no one.
On Wednesday, the 23rd of November, Elizabeth rode through these great gates of the Charterhouse in London to take possession of her capital. Her journey from Hatfield had turned into a triumphal progress. She was accompanied with a great train of 1,000 lords, ladies and gentlemen, and vast cheering crowds greeted her arrival.
Elizabeth consulted the astrologer Dr. John Dee before choosing Sunday, the 15th of January 1559, for her coronation. The Queen walked along lengths of blue cloth from Westminster Hall to the entrance to Westminster Abbey. The crowds behind her fell on the cloth, cutting off pieces as souvenirs.
Today, Elizabeth would play the part that she had understudied so long. And in what a setting. Her christening at Greenwich had been high theatre, but her coronation in Westminster Abbey will be a performance on the grandest scale. First, Elizabeth was acclaimed by the people and swore the oath. Next, her outer robes were removed and she knelt solemnly for the anointing. Bishop Oglethorpe anointed her in the 7 traditional places, on the shoulder blades, on the breasts, on the palms of the hand, and finally on the crown of the head. Then she was enthroned. Successively, 3 different crowns were put on her head, and on her 4th finger, a ring as a symbol of the mystical marriage between Elizabeth and her kingdom. Tradition, mystery, and symbolism had made her Queen of England as fully and completely as any of her predecessors had been king. Elizabeth at last wore the crown. Now came the difficult bit. She to show that she could grasp the reality of power and govern a divided country. And to do that, she to disprove 2 widespread assumptions: that no monarch could ever match the achievement of her father, and that no woman could ever make an effective ruler.